right, it's time for everybody's favorite segment of the week. My least favorite segment of the week, the official picks. We gave out the early picks earlier in the week, gave you the leans, did some more research, may have switched some up, may not have. We're going to go through and give you every single pick for every single one of these fights on UFC 305. But let me remind you, these are not bets. And let me tell you, these official picks have not been very good lately. Why? Because I hate betting on just winners. That's why I usually don't bet too many money lines. And lately, my money line bets have been pretty bad. So that tells you everything you need to know. But even though my money line bets haven't been good, I've still been making money. That's the thing, boys. There's different things to bet on. You can bet on over-unders. You can bet on props. You can put a parlay together. Doesn't have to be money lines. I hate money lines. I hate them. But people want to know who do you got winning. So that's why I do this video. So let's go through it. I'll give you the picks. But if you want the bets, jump in the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership. Or you can wait till the end of the week when we do the Best Bets show. I don't even know if I'm going to give out a money line in that video because I'm so done with money lines. But I'll probably end up placing some money lines because I've been placing a lot of money line dog bets, and not many dogs have been coming through, so maybe I'm just pissed about that, but whatever. First fight on that, we got Stuart Nicoll and Jesus Aguilar. I'm going to take Stuart Nicoll, but it is not a confident pick whatsoever because, number one, Stuart Nicoll, he's undefeated, but I haven't really seen him face too many good guys. I mean, his last win was okay. He was like a 6-0 Japanese guy. He just took him down and did what he does. And I think he could do that here against Jesus Aguilar. I think Stuart Nicoll could get takedowns on Aguilar because Aguilar does not have great takedown defense, but Aguilar is dangerous with the submissions, especially that guillotine. On the feet, Aguilar has straight up T-Rex arms, and I don't believe that he's going to be able to catch Stuart Nicoll with anything too crazy. Even though he caught Shannon Ross with the overhand right, did knock out a fellow Australian of Stuart Nicoll. I don't think he's going to do that here. Maybe he could. Maybe I'll just look like an idiot, but I don't think he's got that type of power. It was the first knockout in his career, okay? And it was against Shannon Ross. People be knocking out Shannon Ross nowadays. Jesus Aguilar, going to get taken down by Stuart Nicoll in this one, and I think Stuart Nicoll wins the minutes. Maybe Aguilar can lock in a submission. Definitely going to be eyeing that bet. Jesus Aguilar by submission might make my card. Stay tuned. You can find out if it does in the Home of Fight Picks Premium membership. But Stuart Nicoll is the pick. I think he gets takedowns, gets top control, wins minutes that way, and he could win a decision on the judges' scorecard. So give me Stuart Nicoll to start off the night. Now we move on to Song Kenan and Ricky Glenn. Disgusting fight here. Ricky Glenn, not a chance in hell that I could be picking Ricky Glenn in this spot. But, on the other side, it's Song Kenan. So pick your poison. Two guys that are just not very good, but Ricky Glenn, absolutely no momentum coming off two knockout losses back-to-back. Really looks like he's not even UFC level anymore. He was in the UFC for a while. He looked good when he came in. That performance he had against Gavin Tucker was like, whoa, watch out, Ricky Glenn. And just, ever since he went to that draw with Grant Dawson, it ain't been looking good. He's old. He's moving up a weight class. Song Kenan has some knockout power. He's a guy that'll sit down on his shots. And in all reality, if he touches Ricky Glenn, he's probably going to make him do the stanky leg. Might knock him out, but I think Song Kenan probably lands the more impactful shots throughout 3 rounds, even if he doesn't and he gets his hand raised. So give me Song Kenan for a pick. And we move on to the biggest favorite on the card, Tom Nolan and Alex Reyes. Tom Nolan should probably not be this big of a favorite because his chin is a liability, massive liability, and I would love to see Alex Reyes chin him because the UFC has been giving this guy softballs ever since he came into the UFC, and somehow he still managed to mess it up. Got knocked out by Nicholas Moda. Got knocked down by Victor Martinez. Bad looks for Tom Nolan. But if he doesn't get chinned, he's going to be the better striker. He's going to have a lot more power on the feet. And he should probably be able to knock out a 37-year-old Alex Reyes, who had a long layoff, came back, and then got knocked out in the first round by Charlie Campbell. So I'm actually interested to see if Alex Reyes mixes in a takedown here. because he has some submissions in his game. And we haven't really seen Tom Nolan on the mat yet. So that's a little wrinkle we could see maybe from Alex Reyes. But in all reality, he probably gets chinned, and Tom Nolan will be the pick. So, yeah. I mean, we could just get a freebie here with Tom Nolan at minus 1,200, but he could get knocked out. So tread lightly. Moving up the card, we got Jack Jenkins and Herbert Burns. Another star-studded matchup. Now, I like Jack Jenkins. Jack Jenkins is a good fighter. But he's a little bit undersized in this matchup. And Herbert Burns going to bring it for 5 minutes. Maybe 4. He's taking it on short notice, so maybe 3. But he will go for it. He will try to get those takedowns. And Jack Jenkins has been submitted before in the past. Been submitted in the first round before. He's been submitted twice, actually. So something you got to watch out in this matchup with Herbert Burns. If he gets him to the ground and he takes that back, could be wraps. Because according to Gilbert Burns, Herbert Burns actually has the better jiu-jitsu. You just don't got a gas tank and you don't got the striking. And if Jack Jenkins can survive 5 minutes, Herbert Burns will be having trouble getting back up to his feet and probably get knocked out. So Jack Jenkins, round 2 KO most likely. He will be the pick, but he's got to survive 3-4 minutes of Herbert Burns coming after him. And then he could pull off a victory here. If Jack Jenkins don't finish Herbert Burns, then that's bad for Jack. He's got to go back to the drawing board if he can't finish Herbert Burns at least within 15 minutes. So give me Jack Jenkins. Casey O'Neill and Luana Santos. I don't remember who I picked for an early pick, but I'm going to go with Casey O'Neill. Very not confident pick. But I will say she has more UFC experience. She has had a longer amount of time off than Luana Santos, who's making a quick turnaround. Traveling across the world. Now, Casey O'Neill is too. She's a girl that trains in Las Vegas, usually. But she is from Australia, so maybe she got a little bit more motivation. She's on back-to-back losses, a little bit more motivation. And Luana Santos really hasn't fought anybody good in the UFC. And she does look good, but I don't think her striking, even though Casey O'Neill is so damn hittable, like, it almost makes me wonder if this girl likes getting hit in the face. Because she gets hit a lot. But that's against good strikers. You know, Jennifer Maia is a good boxer. Ariane Lipski is actually a really good kickboxer. People, very underrated kickboxing for Ariane Lipski. And she pieced Casey O'Neill up. I don't think Luana Santos is on that level as far as on the feet. I think Luana Santos could probably get takedowns, but Casey O'Neill is a pretty good grappler. You know, her getting submitted by Lipski, I don't really put too much stock into that because she was rocked on her feet, and I don't really think she was there. She got her arm trapped. That was wraps. You know, if Santos could crack her and then submit her that way, sure, but I don't really see Santos getting her down to the ground and working her way towards a submission to where Casey O'Neill, like, gives something up. I don't think she's that bad of a grappler. I think she's good enough to survive the submissions from Luana Santos unless she's rocked. So grappling, I think it's pretty 50-50. Maybe you could get a slight edge to Luana Santos. And on the feet, I think Casey O'Neill has a lot of volume. She's shown she can go 15 minutes. Luana Santos tends to slow down a little bit. She's had 2 first-round finishes in the UFC. She's only had 1 15-minute fight, and she didn't look very good in that one. So give me Casey O'Neill, cardio, slight edge in the striking, pretty even in the grappling, in my opinion, and the experience. So give me Casey O'Neill. Moving on, we got Josh Culibao, Ricardo Ramos. Really trying not to take Ricardo Ramos here because he has not looked good, and at times he looks like he could be a quitter. But I do look at this matchup, and if you throw that out the window, I think he's got a path to victory here because Josh Culibao, I love his boxing. I really do. I think he's got some good combinations, but he's a little skinny fat for me. And I think Ricardo Ramos is a little bit more of an athlete. I think he can get Culibao down to the ground. Culibao doesn't have the best takedown defense. He can win minutes that way. And on the feet, I don't think Ricardo Ramos is a fish out of water. I think he's a pretty decent striker as well. And I think he could just mix it all together. Be a mixed martial artist. Do what you got to do on the feet. He's an explosive guy, mixes things up. Maybe we see another spinning back elbow. And then he can mix in the wrestling. He's a guy that actually wrestles a good amount. Like, he probably shouldn't be wrestling against Charles Jourdain, against Julian Erosa, because they're very good grapplers. But he still did it. So if he comes in here and wrestles, Josh Culibao ain't that good of a grappler where he's going to be getting caught in a guillotine. Now that I say that, it's probably going to happen. But I think he can wrestle up Josh Culibao and mix in the striking as well. So I'm going to take Ricardo Ramos, slight dog here. I do like Culibao, but man, just his past two performances, you could see, like, if a guy has a wrestling edge, it's hard for him to get off. It's hard for him to put together combinations, not get off. Jesus. Ricardo Ramos is the pick. Moving on, we got Walter Walker and Junior Tafa. The fight that everybody's been asking for, brother on brother. Bro versus bro. The worst brother versus, I don't know, maybe Walter Walker could be better than Johnny Walker, but he really hasn't shown it. He's 0-1 in the UFC, but at least his chin's better. As far as we know, his chin's a little bit better than Johnny Walker's. Never been knocked out. So there's that. He's going to need a wrestler here, and I think he can get takedowns on Junior Tafa. And if he does, I don't think Junior Tafa can get back up. In all reality, yeah, Junior Tafa's live for a KO here, but I don't know that he should be a favorite over Walter Walker. Walter, not the best striker. I will say that. Actually just really bad striker, but I don't even think he needs it. I think he's just got to not get knocked out, get takedowns, lay on this dude. Just land some ground and pound. And he wins the fight. Because Junior Tafa is a kickboxer with very few MMA fights. And we've seen it in his UFC career. Like, he's getting taken down and held down by Mo Usman. Mo Usman ain't a good wrestler. He ain't a good grappler. Walter Walker's a better wrestler, in my opinion. And even Parker Porter was in on a deep double leg. And Junior Tafa grabbed the cage and stayed on his feet and then knocked him out. Walter Walker's a big dude, too. 6'6", 81-inch reach. I think Tafa might have a tough time getting in the range because Tafa's going to be the smaller guy here, believe it or not. And I think Walker can get the takedown. So give me Walter Walker for a pick. Brings us to the main card. I can't believe that's the freaking feature prelim. Good Lord. To the main card, we got Li Jingliang taking on Carlos Prates. I love Carlos Prates. Love this dude's striking. This dude's striking is nasty. I do think at times he can be a little bit low volume, but in all reality, I think he's probably just trying to figure out his openings, figure out his spots that he wants to attack because he seems very technical, seems very thought out. And against the Leech here, it's a big jump up in competition, but the fallback on Leech is that he's been off for a long time, and he's had to battle a spinal injury. So we don't know what we're getting with Li Jingliang. Is he going to be what he was before? And even if he is what he was before, is that enough to beat Carlos Prates? I'm not a guy that's really trying to fade Carlos Prates because I think this guy is very, very good. And if you can't mix in any type of wrestling, I think eventually he's just going to pick you apart. And he's very dynamic with his finishing sequences. So I think Leech could probably last a good amount of. I can't say that, man. I think Leech can probably make it 15 minutes if he doesn't overextend himself. If he tries to mix in some wrestling, maybe he can get something going. But ultimately, I think he's outgunned here. On the feet, I think Prates, longer reach. He's a little bit susceptible to low kicks, but I don't think Leech is going to be just banging him in there. Prates is a guy with like hundreds of Muay Thai and kickboxing bouts that it's not like leg kicks are going to affect him too much. He'll take them, but eventually I think he just finds the shot, whether he knocks him out or doesn't. He's going to be landing hard. He's going to be landing often against Li Jingliang, and I think Carlos Prates gets his hand raised in this one and keeps the train moving. So give me Carlos Prates. Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. This is one where I want to take Ty. I really do. Because, Rozenstruik's not going to mix in any type of wrestling. And he's not a guy that really engages in these big swinging matches. And I think that's where Ty could probably find some success if he just goes forward and swings away. Because Rozenstruik likes the slow kickboxing battle where he can sit there, throw his leg kicks. His leg kicks are a lot sharper than Ty's. Ty's are like really wide, but he throws them hard, and they're effective. But they're very telegraphed, and I think Rozenstruik will probably be keen to him and be able to get out of the way or at least check him. So on the feet, I think Rozenstruik's the better striker, no doubt about it. But if it gets into a brawl, then it's a 50-50, and I think Tai might have the better chin, but he's taken so much damage over the years that it's like, I don't know what his chin is like now. You know, like he got beat up bad his last 3 out of 4 fights. Like even the fight against Tybura, he didn't get beat up, but he got dominated once he got to the ground. If it's on the feet, I think it's a 50-50. I don't know what version we're getting with Tai, but in a 50-50 fight, I think I got to take Tai. I think I do. I know Rozenstruik's the favorite here, and I don't know that I would lay that. Because at times he's low volume, he doesn't like a firefight, and he's not going to grapple. So if anything, I'll be looking to the Tai Tuivasa side, and I'll take him for a pick, whatever that means, but sure. Give me Tai Tuivasa. And we move on. Mateusz Gamrot, Dan Hooker. So, not a big Gamrot fan. I don't think there's anybody out there, except for the guy that I saw at UFC 299. The dude was literally the only one cheering in our entire section during Gamrot's fight against RDA. People were falling asleep. People were on their phones, not even watching the fight. There's a dude sitting there screaming, Gamrot! Gamrot! The gamer Gamrot. He was definitely Polish. Nobody likes this guy, and I'm sure the UFC really doesn't like him because it's not a fan-friendly style, and Dan Hooker is a fan-friendly style. But in all reality, Gamrot's probably going to get takedowns here. And one thing to note, Gamrot does have a win by Kimura in the UFC against Jeremy Stevens. Dan Hooker, last submission loss was to Islam Makhachev, where he got Kimura. So I think the submission is live for Gamrot, but I also think the KO is live for Dan Hooker. Because Gamrot be getting dropped. He'd be getting knocked down in like 4 of his UFC fights, which is a lot for a guy that wins. So he's shown that he can get knocked down and he can come back and still win. But Dan Hooker is a very good striker, a guy that's going to push a pace. He's going to stay in your face, and he's got good knees up the middle. So Dan Hooker's not a guy that you can count out, but I do have to take Gamrot for a pick. I got to take him because I think his grappling is so high level, and he's just a guy that has a relentless pace. It's so annoying, too. Like, I think RDA just wanted to off himself in there, man. Like, he knocked down Gamrot in the first round. Knocked him down. And Gamrot's literally, like, holding on to legs by his shoulders. Like, just, I gotta grab a leg. I gotta grab a leg. It's like, God, dude, like, have some dog in you or something. But I'll take Gamrot for a pick. Kai Kara-France and Steve Erceg. I'm taking Steve Carell here. And it's a tough one because, you know, on the feet, I think it could turn into a 50-50. Because I think I've been a Kai guy. I think he's a very good striker. He's a guy that doesn't get hit too hard, and he keeps his distance. He's got a crazy long reach for his height, and he's able to reach people very deceptively. But I think Steve is also just very sharp, and he can mix in some grappling here. Kai has really improved his submission defense and his takedown defense, so I don't really see Steve mixing it in too much. But when they're in these grappling sequences, I think Steve is very crafty with it. He can get a trip, doesn't need a double leg, doesn't need a single leg. He can get a trip, or he can just take the back from the standing position, drag him down some type of that way, body lock, trip into that. So I think there's ways that you can mix in some grappling here for Steve Erceg. But even if he doesn't, I think he's very sharp with his hands. His boxing is clean. He's got nice leg kicks from the outside. Kai does too. And if it is a kickboxing battle, then it does get a lot closer. But I got to go with Steve Erceg here, man. I think this guy could realistically be the UFC champion right now. And Kai has not been active. So there's not a lot to love from Kai. And he's lost 2 fights in a row. I thought he won the Albazi fight, but at the end of the day, he's lost 2 fights in a row, hasn't been active, and you're getting a guy that just fought for a title not too long ago and arguably won. So I got to go with Steve Erceg for a pick, man. Brings us to the main event. I think you know who we got here. I got Dricus. I think Dricus is the kryptonite to Izzy because he can do it all. He's dangerous on the feet. He can take him down. He's dangerous on the ground with the submissions. Adesanya, at this point in his career, he's 35. He's had a long UFC career. He's climbed the mountain. He's lost it. He's climbed it again. He's lost it. And now he's got to do it again. And at that point, it's tough to do. It's very tough to do. And there's part of me that, we all know that Izzy's going to be coming into this fight very motivated. No doubt about it. But I just think this is a very tough matchup for him. Because Drake has very unorthodox striking. It might be hard for Adesanya to get the timing that he needs to land a good counter strike. He's a guy that fights off the back foot, a guy that likes to move around, a guy that really doesn't push the pressure unless somebody lets him push the pressure, meaning he's a guy that's going to fight off the back his back foot for a majority of the fight unless his opponent is starting to back up. And then Izzy takes the center of the octagon. The guy that he's fighting has his back up against the cage, and that's where Adesanya can start to separate himself. But I don't think Drake is going to do that. Drake is a guy that moves forward all the time. And he will walk through shots. He can get takedowns, and he's dangerous there. He's dangerous for a KO, dangerous for a submission. And he's shown 5 rounds of strong cardio in a high-paced fight against Sean Strickland where he ate so many jabs, and he's still just able to walk through it. He showed a great heart there. Now he's the champion. His skills have been validated. He comes into this one with a little bit more confidence. Obviously, motivation with the matchup. A guy that he was supposed to fight a year ago. They had a heated face-off. Izzy's been going at him throughout the entire build-up. There's motivation there for Drakus, no doubt. And I just saw today that, if Drakus wins, they're going to do a UFC event in South Africa. So there you go. That's all we need to know. I got Drakus du Plessis for a pick. Hopefully you enjoyed. Stay tuned to the channel for the Best Bet show later in the week. And stay tuned because I got a big bet on this card. And I'm going to let you guys know what it is. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Till next time, H-Up Picks.